Let's go to question number 5. What are the requirements for education or work experience? This is very, very important. Why is it very important? Because this is another part of the eligibility where people get confused. United States immigration law. So the regulation requires that every diversity visa lottery applicant to have at least high school education or its equivalent of that particular education. If you don't have a minimum of high school, I'll come to define what is high school here. If you don't have those high school, you need to have 2 years of work experience in the past 5 years. But it's supposed to be in an occupation which requires to have at least 2 years of training or experience. I'll come to explain that one, because not every work experience will be applicable. So let's go to the education. You need to have a minimum of high school education. When you go to the diversity visa lottery application form, there is no any place where you will be required to put number of work experience or your exact work experience. What you'll be able to be supposed to do is to put only education level, primary, high school, with a diploma, without a diploma. By the word diploma here, we mean certificate. American English, the word diploma is not equal to the education level. Like in many countries in Africa, Asia, and Latin America, they have education level called a diploma. In America, diploma means certificate of completion. So if you finish standard 7, you are given a certificate you have completed standard 7. You finish high school, you get a certificate you have completed high school. If you finish bachelor degree, you are given the transcript with results and you are given the certificate of completion that Ernest Boniface Makulilo has been awarded bachelor degree in political science with the upper second class or with the lower second class with honor, whatever. If you do that, that is called diploma. Diploma is certificate of completion. So in order to be able to be allowed to apply, you need to have at least high school education or its equivalent. High school education is defined as 12 years of education from 1st grade to 12th grade. That is high school education. Completion of 12-year course of elementary and secondary education. That is high school education. Let me go back. Some countries have different ways on how they calculate, but in the end, almost every country in the world will have 12 years of education to mean high school. I can give two or three examples. In Kenya, they start with standard 1 to standard 8, primary school or elementary school. Then they go to high school, 4 years, which makes them 12 years in total. In Tanzania, we have 7 years of elementary school or primary school. After primary school, we go to secondary school. Secondary school divided into 2 categories. The first category is the category of what we call ordinary secondary school, 4 years, which if you add with the 7 makes 11. That is not high school. O level in Tanzania is not high school. Then you go to advanced secondary school or advanced level, which is high school, now is 2 years. So for Tanzania, if you add those 2 years, it makes it 13 years. But it still is high school. So from primary school, 1st grade, to high school in Tanzania is 13 years. But when you go to the university, most of the degree programs in Tanzania are 3 years, which will make you to have 16 years. But in Kenya, is 8 years primary school, 4 years secondary school, which is high school, makes that one to 12 years. But Kenya bachelor degree is 4 years, which will make 16 years. So whether you're in Kenya, whether you're in Tanzania, if you study until you finish bachelor degree, in the end you're going to spend all 16 years. In Uganda, they have primary school, there is senior 4 and senior 6. Senior 4 is not high school. High school is 12 years or after that, that will be high school. If, let's say, you didn't go to school, you decided maybe I'll study from home and go and take the exam only. There are those who call people are going on a conventional route. You go maybe secondary school, first year, second year, so let me quit, I'll do the exam as a private candidate. If you do that, that doesn't count towards being a high school. What they say is this one. Only formal courses of study meet this requirement are the ones going to be counted, meaning correspondence programs or equivalency certificates are not counted. For instance, are not acceptable. For instance, in the United States, we have something called general education, it's called general equivalence diploma, which is called GED. So GED is just like, oh, maybe I didn't go to school, I'll go take the high school exam on my own, study the tuition, go to someone teach me, read on my own material, go take the exam, and you finish high school. That doesn't count towards completing high school education. You need to be in the formal setting of instruction. You must present the document to prove that you finished high school. Failure to do that, you cannot be able to get the to get the visa even if you win. So that is something you need to understand about the question, what are the requirements for education with finishing that education. Let's go to the work experience. You need to have at least 2 years of work experience in the past 5 years. By work experience, not every work experience is going to qualify. They say it's supposed to be in an occupation where you got training of at least 2 years or 2 years of work experience to get that work. For instance, you're a mechanic. In order to be a mechanic, not just because you learn from your neighbor and then you went directly to go to have a auto shop and just do the work. You need to go to the vocational education training. Like in Tanzania, there is something called VETA. You need to go to get like a vocational training or trade school, like a professional school for that, a special training of at least 2 years of training. That's why someone, oh, I got the certificate in hotel management. Yes. Then from there, go and work in the hotel. But if you go to work directly in the hotel, you need, that job must require someone with work experience before starting that particular job. So that is something you need to understand. I will go to talk more about the occupations. As I said, not just because you finished high school, or I mean, just because you are working. Let's say you are a chef, you know how to cook. But where do you cook? Do you cook outside at your house and maybe you provide food for 5-10 people? That doesn't count. You need to have a work experience, I mean like work experience, like the magnitude of it. How is it that work experience? So those are the things you need to understand when we say the work experience. Failure to show that on the application form, there is no need to show any documentation. On the application form, what you need is only the what you need is just the only education to tick. You don't need to upload any certificate. But once you win, when you go to the interview, that is when you are going to show the proof. And the proof of work experience can be contract, can be official documents from your employer, the official letter from your employer to explain how does that work. So that is about the requirement of education and or work experience which you need to have.